Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time, Deep Space Nine, Little Green Men. Yeah, we're going back to Earth. We're going back in time. We're going back to Earth. This is a fun one. My girl is there as well. We'll talk about her. We'll talk about all of it. We're going back in time to our time, before our time. Hey, if you want to stay in our time, keep us in our time. Go everywhere with us. Follow us on Facebook. It's All Been Trucked Before. Lots of fun there. Lots of memes. Lots of just, hey, here's what's going on. So keep up with us there. You'll know where we are in case you lose track. Let's say, you're a busy person. Follow us Facebook. It's All Been Trekked Before. This is also It's All Been Trekked Before. Little Green Men, Deep Space Nine.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This is your skeleton crew.
This is Steven.
Olivia James. We are here to talk about the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode, Little Green Men. What did you think?
It was fun. It reminded me of your favorite TOS episode, Tomorrow's Yesterday, very much, but in a much more positive way. I like the spin on it.
Can it remind you of Assignment Earth instead? How come every time there's time travel, you go to Tomorrow's Yesterday? Pick the good ones.
We could go with that as well. Except I think Assignment Earth, they meant to go back. This one, either way. No, I thought this was more fun. I love the translator parts. We'll get more into all the details, but I thought this was fun, and especially for Ferengi only episode. We still got a little bit of character development too with Nog and everybody. His really Nog and everybody else. A little.
Well, we know Nog's going to the academy, so we don't have much more chance for more character development, right?
A little more devious, a little bit of the dark side of Quark, which we see flashed here and there, and the smarts of Rom. So yeah, I thought it was fun. We'll get into it. It had Megan Gallagher, which last time she guest starred, I mentioned she's one of my all-time favorite guest actresses of the 90s. Or not even guest actresses, just actresses of the 90s. I enjoyed her very much and everything. I was very into her throughout the 90s, and then I haven't seen her as much lately, but that's probably more my fault than hers. But anyway, I thought it was a good time.
I had fond memories of this one just as a fun little romp.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it is. It's a fun little romp with some great character development for Rom, Nog, Quark, that trio, because we're starting to get more about Rom. And I thought this was a good episode. Even though Rom wasn't as heavily featured, this was a good episode for showing more of the dynamic of, he has a line in this about, I've always been smart, I just lack self-confidence. And you can definitely see over this last season how Nog standing up to Quark and deciding to go to Starfleet Academy has inspired Rom. He's being inspired by his son. And you see him coming into his own, which is wonderful. And you already know how this is going to end up because you've seen Lower Decks. But it's nice to see Rom grow into Rom. And there's a great Rom-centric episode coming up that I think you're going to love. I think it's this season, called Bar Association. We'll get to that. But like I said, Max Gronchek is great. Giving Rom material is great, and knowing that Nog's going to be a little lighter on the show for a while, he's not going away, and he'll actually be more heavily in the later last season, I think, than any other season. But we're going to see him less for a while, and that's sad. So give me more Nog before he goes, right?
Yeah, and to that point, the whole he and I just watched Stand By Me for the first time recently. Actually, me and some of the guys did the Sad Dads movie night, we call it. And amazingly, none of us had seen it.
I haven't either.
And it's kind of part of a, hey, let's honor Rob Reiner, rest in peace, the great Rob Reiner. But it gave very similar vibes here, where the two of them are on their, the balcony, if you will, or whatever, the upper deck at Deep Space Nine, and looking at their spot and all that. And I didn't think it was, like you said, not going to Starfleet. It didn't feel cheap. It felt earned. We have spent time with him. We're at season 4.
I was just looking at his episode count. He only did 5 episodes in season 1, and then he only did 3 each in seasons 2 and 3, which that's 11 episodes. 12 episodes before this, because he was also in The Visitor. 12 episodes before this is a lot for a guest character, but it feels like he's been a bigger presence than 12 episodes to me.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's going to be in 3 more this season.
Okay.
And then in season 5, he's in 8. In season 6, he's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 in season 6. And season 7, he's in 11. So he's in about half the episodes of seasons five and or
Okay.
season 6 and 7, and he's in a bigger presence in five. So I just said he's going away for a while. He's not. He's actually going to keep being in the show more and more,
Okay.
which is
Good to hear. But
wonderful.
I still don't think that cheapens what's going on. It was very,
No, it
American.
doesn't. It's still a pivotal
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I
And
do think this is. I think this is putting to bed, and we've already got a bit of this from the Visitor and stuff, but this is putting to bed the childhood friendship of Jake and Nog and the childhood
yes,
dynamic. From here on out, they're going to move into their adult personas, and they're going
that's,
to have a different dynamic, which is
yeah.
not a bad dynamic, but they're not just going to sit and waste their time on the upper pylons anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's good. And that's kind of where I was going because it kind of references American Graffiti, the movie, where it's like, hey, you could stay here, yeah, but you could come here, you could go with me or whatever, the do you should I stay or should I go kind of thing. And
Mm.
also, just spoiler alert for the last season of Stranger Things, kind of addresses that same kind of thing of saying goodbye to childhood and growing up and moving on kind of a thing. So yeah, I thought that was really great. Really good scene.
Yeah, it was also interesting to me how other characters were getting Nog time in this episode. We got to see him
Hmm.
interact with Worf and with O'Brien and with Bashir.
Yeah.
We have seen like a little bit of like him and O'Brien in the past, but
Hmm.
it does strike me that going forward, he's obviously in a lot more episodes, and Jake is often not in a lot of episodes. We're gonna see Nog interact with the rest of the cast a lot more going forward.
Yeah.
Then it's not just
Cool.
Jake and Nog every time we see Nog.
Uh,
So that's their paths are very different, even though they're still best friends. So yeah. I enjoyed the Nog selling his possessions thing. That was so Ferengi. It was so
it was.
Ferengi. And I thought he really towed the correct line of being Starfleet indifferent and also
Uh,
his culture.
yeah. Yeah. I
And
thought it was very
Rom
cute.
buying the pajamas was so sweet.
It, yeah, it, I thought of a bar mitzvah, which sounds racist of me to say, I feel like a little bit, but I just mean in the sense of it was like a rite of passage and they're
Hmm.
selling their stuff and that kind of thing. So like, I felt like it was on this day he becomes a man kind of a thing, but
Well, and some really great comedy in that scene. I mean, we
mhm.
got to see Cisco being supportive, as was great. Like Cisco at this point is now all in on Nog, whereas before he was on the fence, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's fully
Uh-huh.
supportive, forcing everybody, making this a mandatory thing. But then the comedy of Worf being like, I was forced to be here, but ooh, a teeth sharpener. How much is this?
That was actually, I thought that was a cool little scene there. Yeah, I
And I
like that.
also loved the Nog stole Kira's racquetball racket. Just
Touch.
childhood nonsense. I don't know.
Well,
It
and
was fun.
I like that it was left unsaid because in my mind it was more of a I like this woman than a I want to steal the racket.
I
But
mean, he didn't steal her panties and didn't
right,
steal her earmuffs, which would have
right.
made sense for
Which
Ferengi. He stole her
yeah,
racket.
yeah. But he does mention the women on Earth later. I think it's maybe a couple times. But
Nog is definitely into human women, and who can
yes,
blame him?
that
I
hey,
mean,
I'm the same way.
look at the Ferengi women. We're not drooling over the Ferengi women.
Andrew Martin out of makeup, I am, but yeah, otherwise, yeah.
I'm just saying they're no Klingons.
This is
So,
very true. Now you yeah, that good example.
Quark's cousin, who we've heard mentioned before, Gala, has gifted him a
Hmm.
shuttle, and it
Yeah.
was an actual working shuttle. Did that make you
Hmm.
suspicious at all that it wasn't defective and that it cost a fortune when we heard that Gala didn't like
I
Quark?
yeah, and I knew I was just like I knew something was going to go wrong because we kind of talked about the premise of the episode, but yeah, that just made me think, okay, something's up. But yeah, we I knew that we were going to end up on Earth and not of our. Well, you know what? I'm not sure how much I remember, but I was pretty sure I knew they were going to end up on Earth. But yeah, that was a good setup, I thought.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I thought
and
it was interesting that because Rom's the one who's like, I don't know about this, and
hmm
oh no, he's the one that says it could outrun a Romulan interceptor. Yeah,
that's what got to me was like, oh, this is a very expensive shuttle. But also,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense that a Ferengi would use such an expensive thing to trick Quark, right? Like,
right,
how much
right,
money
right.
did he spend to trick Quark?
Yeah,
He must have
yeah.
got a hell of a bargain on it.
I do like Quark says the all I ask is a tall ship, which I think is
Yes,
something Kirk says
Kirk,
in the
Kirk.
yeah,
But then he
uh,
changed the end of it.
yeah, and a little contraband to fill her with.
Did you like the name of the ship too?
What was it?
Quark's Treasure.
That's yeah.
I thought that was good. That was good. Also, there was a great comedy bit of Morn is going to watch the bar, and they're like, "Well, he's
Yes.
going to drink all your profits." They're like, "Yeah, but he's not going to steal anything,"
Hmm. Hmm.
which was fun.
As long as he
Bashir and
doesn't forget the bar.
O'Brien. Well, we got, of course, the Jake saying goodbye to Nog, but Bashir and O'Brien coming to say goodbye and giving him a gift was really fun.
Yeah. I liked his initial reaction, like, hey, it was essentially the no refunds thing was when he started.
That's just, yeah. No, I liked that too. It definitely meant a lot of the merchandise he sold was not in good working order. But
Yes.
I mean, Kira's racket looked like he'd seen better days.
Yeah.
But they also, this should have been a like major glaring klaxon of warning about what was to come when Nog brings up the Bell riots and shows us the picture of Cisco. I was like,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, another time travel.
That made me laugh.
I mean, I knew they were about to time travel anyway,
Uh,
but that was like, oh, I love it. Almost felt like this was part of a series with that episode by dropping that in right before it all went down.
I think it's right before then Quark says something about all that matters is quarterly dividends or something like that. I'm like, and that's when I thought, well, if they land right now, they're gonna fit right in with the world.
Hmm.
And then we got our favorite word, sabotage, soon after.
Right? I did appreciate Rom yelling a bunch of techno babble, and Quark's like, "You're a genius," and they're like, "He's like, really? No, how should I know? I didn't understand a
Yeah,
word you said."
yeah, yeah. I also like when they are talking about Cisco and Gabriel Bell, Quark saying all humans look alike. Always funny.
Of course, he would say that.
Yeah, I liked how in depth Rom was getting, like how he knew all his stuff. And I felt like part of that is just knowing his product and knowing if you know your product, you can know how to sell it, whether it's for, for more money or whatever. How to sell it for better or worse. I guess I'm thinking,
Rom's not a good salesman, but we're
yeah,
gonna learn that he's a technical genius. He's a very good
yeah,
engineer.
yeah, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did the as soon as we get back to July 1947, which if you're
Hmm.
familiar with the Roswell thing at all, that should bump you big time. We were just talking about Albuquerque when I was out there. They, of course, were talking about Roswell. There were
Hmm.
stuffed aliens in the gift shops. But they, as soon as we get to that time, so many people smoking in this episode. Like they went over the
Yes.
top with the smoking, which we can do again now. If you hadn't heard, we're allowed to do it on TV again now.
Oh, is that right?
Apparently,
Okay.
that's it's starting to come back on TV after the current FCC is like, nope, you're allowed to do it again.
I think that makes sense. I also noted that
Does that make
Roswell,
sense? Or is this just
I,
certain government trying to be like anti-nanny state, anti-woke?
that's, that's what I thought you were saying was like, we can smoke anywhere we want now on
It's
TV. Sure.
essentially getting
But
back to that. I mean,
although
obviously
I
they
feel
haven't.
like, I wonder if kids, if they see somebody on TV smoking inside like a public space, are like, this doesn't make any sense. You're not allowed to do that. I mean,
I
I
mean,
think that's my reaction, unless I'm like, okay, this is an old movie or whatever, or an
see,
old
I
TV
think
show.
Zoe's just like, I haven't really seen smoking because I watched it with my
Yeah,
daughter. Like, I
yeah.
haven't really seen smoking. Why are they doing that? And then, of course, in story, they're talking about how bad it is for you. And she's like, why do people ever do that?
It's
Yeah.
it's I'm around people that smoke a lot less now, and then especially in the same room as them, let alone, hey, I'm going outside for a smoke. And I don't judge them obviously because I'm sitting here drinking vodka or whatever. But yeah, that's interesting.
Well, no, I don't think alcohol's as bad for you as, but who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. Either way, I'm not gonna proselytize, no, judge. I
I
thought it
will
was
judge
interesting.
for you. If you smoke, you're a
Thank
garbage human being. No, I'm
you.
kidding. I've got friends
uh,
that smoke. I don't think you're a garbage human being. I know addiction is a real thing and that sucks and I'm
that is
sorry and
very true as well.
I hope you can break the habit if you want to cuz that's awful.
So this is November 95, and then 4 years later, Roswell debuts on the WB. So that's all I could think about when I saw it.
Oh,
So
I didn't
not as
watch
close
that
as I
show.
thought. I knew it debuted and it followed Dawson's Creek for a while. I never actually watched it, but I always wanted to. I thought it looked interesting.
I've
Maybe
got
just because of
four.
Sherry Appleby, but
Oh, I love Sherry Appleby. I've
yeah.
got four alternate episodes. None of them were that the show Roswell actually starred Quark, Rom, and Nog, but now I want them to star in the show Roswell. That should have been
uh,
the spin-off of Deep Space Nine.
I I couldn't just my alternate episode is they land in our time, and I went through like 10 different possible things they end up being, but I think I landed on well, is this one? Oh, I was gonna say originally I was gonna say they land in our time and immediately become members of the Trump cabinet. Then I just went with they land in our time and nobody notices because there's too much going on, too much crap going on. Nobody notices these guys taking over the stock exchange or whatever they're doing.
So
Yeah.
my alternate episodes are all time travel involved too. One, I wanted a remake of E.T. with Quark as E.T. Um, one of them, I wanted them to land while the War of the Worlds broadcast was going on,
Mm-hmm.
but it was actually them as the War of the Worlds thing.
Mm-hmm.
One, I wanted them to
That's
end
good.
up in the 29th century and deep and Discovery and
Discovery.
whatever instead of going back. And then my last one, of course, is they show up and meet Samuel Clemens. So
I like that.
no, you don't. You are so glad that
I
didn't
mean,
happen.
I know. I mean, I like that as an alternate episode. That makes me laugh. But yeah.
I was gonna say you would hate if that was the
Oh, I
episode.
would actually hate the episode, but I like the idea. It makes the idea
Yes,
makes me laugh. But
that's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that it's like I didn't want any more of this, and then Lower Decks found the way to make me want more of it. Right?
Yeah.
Mm. I enjoyed so much. Zoe was cracking up, and I was too, when we actually like heard the Ferengi characters talking Ferengi, and then
Uh-huh.
I love that they distorted the human voices so we got the
Yes.
perspective on both
Yeah, I
sides.
thought that was
But then the
great.
head slapping and everything, and them
Uh-huh.
thinking Quark might be the mother of the family was cracking us up.
It made me laugh, and I thought it was a funny way without being stupid. It was I thought it was one of those stupid smart things. It's like, and also I thought I liked that it's like, oh, they're actually trying to reach out and actually communicate. I also felt it all felt very, not necessarily movies from the 40s, but from the 50s for sure. Even some of the acting, and I'm not trying to denigrate any of the acting here, but I felt like they were definitely trying to emulate or replicate some of the actors from that, or the acting in those kind of, for lack of a better term, B movies. Or some of them were actually very good movies. Some of them are very good B movies. Excuse me. Sometimes in the way they were a little over the top, but also in some of the ways they were a little flat. The guy who was engaged in Megan Gallagher's character.
So you're talking about Professor Jeff Carlson, played by
Yeah.
Connor O'Farrell, who is best known for Game of Silence, 10 episodes. CSI, the original CSI did 13 episodes. The Pacific, great miniseries. Stir of Echoes, he's got 100 credits, or as Keith would say, only 100. He will do
Hmm.
2 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise as two different roles. This
Okay.
is his only Deep Space Nine appearance.
But I thought he was playing. I mean, I feel like when you go back and watch those, there's always a professor, and he's always cool
Mm.
and calm. And he's like, "Of course, this is what's going on." And I think Megan Gallagher perfectly. She was meant to play a smart dame, if you will, from the 40s or 50s. Great
She
look,
was
and like I
great.
said, one of my favorite actresses from that time.
Megan Gallagher, best known for playing Holly O'Cotty in Van Wilder, playing
Huh.
a 40s woman in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. She was in 49 episodes of the show Millennium, which I haven't seen. And it also says best known for 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine. We've obviously already seen the other one. It was a different character back in season 2. But I'm surprised Deep Space Nine ranked one of her four
Yeah,
best known for, especially because she did like 5 episodes of Suits. So
I need to
I don't
watch her
know.
later work because I know all of her early stuff. I should put that on my list. Just a Megan Gallagher
She's
later
got a
work.
Voyager episode coming up too, where she'll play a Starfleet officer.
Yeah. And then she was in the episode with John Glover of DS9. This is her second DS9.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
then,
she'll
I
do.
watched her in, I think it was the Dabney Coleman show. She was in a lot of stuff.
She did
Uh,
19 episodes
China
of Hill
Beach.
Street Blues,
Oh, what? Really? Okay. Yeah.
17 episodes of China Beach.
Yeah.
Why aren't those? 14 episodes of the Larry Sanders Show? I feel like
Yep.
those should all rank higher than Deep
Yeah.
Space Nine for what she's
Yeah.
best known
And I
for.
know those hit more with me because, yeah, it's a bunch of shows that I watched. But
I haven't
yeah,
seen any of those shows,
I,
but
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
She's just always been great. And then our old friend Charles Napier also here playing the general in the very classic, literal cigar chomping way. And
Oh, he's
he, of
sadly
course,
no longer with us, but yeah.
yeah, he was in The Way to Eden, if we remember, going back to COS. He was our guitar strumming hippie.
Oh man, I did not realize that. That's such a flashback.
Yeah,
Yeah, he played
yeah.
Adam.
And it's interesting because I feel like as a kid, I initially knew him. He always played kind of the tough guy. And then
Hmm.
I saw the Star Trek episode. And then every time I saw him after that, I thought of him as the hippie on Star Trek. And then I think we might have talked about this when we did Wade Eden, but he's one of the guys in Silence of the Lambs, one of the guards who gets his face ripped off or whatever. So,
So he's best known for Silence of the Lambs, Rambo:
yeah.
First Blood Part 2,
Oh
Austin
yeah.
Powers, the original, and The Blues
Yep.
Brothers from 1980,
Yeah.
according to IMDb.
He's got to have one of those just this many credits things,
He has
like
so many
200.
credits.
Yeah, yeah. So I always enjoyed him. And then I thought it was also funny. I was reading on the production notes.
206 acting credits. Sorry.
What's that?
206.
Only
206
200.
acting credits.
Just 200.
Yeah.
They said they wanted a Megan Gallagher type for this episode, and so somebody let her agent know, and she was like, "I'll do it." And so yeah, so they brought her back. So
Did they think they
I
needed a Megan Gallagher type because they'd already used Megan Gallagher? Because that
maybe,
hadn't
or
stopped Star
maybe they
Trek
didn't think
at
she'd be
all.
available, but yeah, I. On that note, we were talking about the professor. I thought they were all very, very chill about the aliens.
Another thing you'd expect, it definitely felt like you were dropped into the middle that they'd already had long discussions, so maybe the shock
Yeah,
had worn off
yeah.
that they Frankie were out for a while. I liked the four personalities they put together seemed like a good mix of four personalities for the
Hmm.
humans. Because besides the general, Nurse Faith Garland, and the professor, we also had Captain James Wainwright, the young, eager upstart played by James McDonald, who's best known for Broken Arrow, Volcano, Tigerland, and The Fan. Not as familiar to me, but the archetype was familiar. And I thought it was a good mix of military versus the compassionate civilians. And I don't know,
Hmm.
it all worked for me very well, the
I
mix they
thought so
had.
too.
Even though, of
Like,
course, I was rooting against the military, I was really glad we had this great professor and nurse to balance it.
yeah, and I didn't think they. I also thought, again, keeping in line that with those old movies, those B movies, didn't take themselves too seriously either in that context either. I mean, obviously, Quark and those guys are doing their Three Stooges kind of thing going on there also. But yeah, I thought that was all fun.
I loved the character Nurse Faith Garland, Megan Gallagher's character. She had so many like moments, like when she talked about, oh,
Hmm.
we're going to be exploring new worlds, new civilizations, and just
I
her
that was my next
optimistic
note.
outlook of the future.
Yes.
There were several lines like that that I was like,
Yep.
oh, I love her so much.
Yep. I got a little anxious how much they were talking about their honeymoon because I thought they were just
It
tipping us
seemed
off at
unnecessary. I didn't feel like we
yeah.
needed a relationship between the two of them.
No, and maybe again that's going back to those movies where it's like, oh, I love you, blah blah blah. But it made me nervous in the modern context of like, oh, they're dead. One of them's dying. One of them's and maybe in a battle of terror, a violence of terror aspect. But I'm glad it
Thankfully
didn't
not.
come to that. I'm glad they both survived.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
No, this was more of a comedy. It would have been very tonally grating for one of them to die. Once you got
Once,
into it. In the middle, I could
yeah.
see how you might wonder, but by the end, it would not have made sense.
Once they got in the Jeep and got outside and kissed, I was like, okay, they're home free. We're good now. They're
Hmm.
gonna be fine. But early on, I was a little nervous about how much they were doing that.
I really appreciated Quark's disgust by the end of Moms and Cigarettes, but then the General's equal disgust of, you remind me of my brother-in-law. He's a car salesman and he's not any good at it.
Yeah.
I did also really appreciate Quark dropping the references of, I know all about humans, baseball, root beer, darts. And I was like, I can name where all of those things are coming from.
It was very funny.
It's the nice thing about getting 4 seasons in that you start to build those bridges.
Yes. Yeah. And I I tried to go down like I guess that's true for Ferengi or true Quark, just being like, I don't care where I am as long as I'm living my by my rules of acquisition. I don't have to be, you know,
Well, he saw the opportunity to be rich and have a much different lifestyle than the one he's
yeah,
got, right? Like he could have set him up. It's like when Biff from Back to the Future like goes back in time and can set his old self up so much better than the life he has.
right. Yeah, that's a good
Quark
point.
running that bar is a little bit like a dead end job. I mean,
Hmm.
honestly, I'm surprised. But in Lower Decks, they show he's successful and has a chain. But throughout Deep Space Nine, Quark is not a successful Ferengi. And I'm really kind of surprised that Star Trek canon has now established that at some point he got good at being a Ferengi or just lucked into good business opportunity. Because to me, it always seems like as much as he grumbles and acts like a jerk, his heart is
Hmm.
just a little too big to be a true businessman.
I think, and maybe it's because he's always doing those side hustles to try and do better instead of just making his actual place better. But
Mhm. Well, it's just those moments where there are a couple of key moments where he gives up major profits to help Bajoran slaves from Cardassians or to because he's in love with the Klingon woman.
Mhm.
Like there's these moments where you're like, oh, Quark's just a little bit too good a person to truly succeed in the society, even though
Yeah.
most of it he buys into it.
I do like he does kind of establish the he goes through the PT Barnum thing as soon as he meets all these guys like wow they're even dumber than I thought. I'm gonna make a min off these idiots.
Well, him wanting to alter history actually makes him a little villainous, in my opinion.
Yes, I
Even though I
agree.
know it's all about personal profit and it's not malicious, it
Yeah.
starts to seem bad.
Yeah. And it helps establish even more of where Nog is in his journey.
Yeah, but then Nog tricks Nurse Garland into giving him Umox, and that was a little bit wrong too. That's almost like
Uh
tricking a woman into giving you a hand job, essentially, right?
yeah, that was I attributed that to being 18, but still I hear what you're saying or whatever equivalence you want to point out. But
Yeah, that bothered me a bit there. But we did have the all of a sudden the dog. Did you see this coming at all? That the dog turned
no,
into Odo?
I did not. I did
I was
not.
pretty sure I remembered that Odo snuck along on this position or
Yeah.
on this mission, but by
Yeah.
that point in the episode, I'd forgotten that I was thinking that, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, he's not here." And then when the dog shifted, I was like, "What? Wait, wait! All those people were in the room, and they weren't bothered by the dog being there.
Yeah.
So what?" It didn't quite add up to me.
I feel like I had a dot in my brain, like, oh yeah, I wonder if I was gonna follow them. And I again also I completely forgot. And I was like, oh, when was that dog there? And why is that dog standing so weird? Oh, yeah. Odo got me both times. That's the dog, and then I had to rewind to figure out, wait, what was he? Oh, he was a spare tire, which I think is great because on a Jeep,
Plot.
like the one that Father Mulcahy, who you played in MASH, would have
Oh
rode in.
yeah,
So
excellent, excellent. I mean, I love Mash the movie and the series. Excellent, bringing it back up. I did want to know when the Ferengi are plotting after the humans leave them alone and Odo shows up. I really wanted a shot after they like walk out with Odo like melting into a pool of
uh-huh.
somebody still watching through the two-way mirror and just jaw on the floor. I would not think when you've got aliens you leave them unattended without them being watched at all
uh,
times. That didn't make sense to me that they all just actually left them alone. It did make sense to me that Frankie never figured out they'd been observed, but I feel like that two-way mirror was just there for that one opening scene, and then they
yeah.
forgot about it the rest of the episode, which bothered me a little bit.
I was watching, I think it was The Sure Thing, teen rom-com from the 80s, John Cusack, also directed by Rob Reiner. And
Oh,
I had a thought during it
rest in
like,
peace.
oh, oh yeah, they can't call anyone with a cell phone and they can't do this. Yeah, it was one of those like, oh yeah, yeah. Which I I mean always seems obvious if you're looking at people in this time in the 40s or whatever. But
Mhm.
I feel like yeah, obviously the more we move into the future, the more movies the more movies? Yeah, well, it's probably the same amount, but you'll watch more from, oh yeah, they didn't have cell phones then or whatever. Anyway, random side thought. But
The military actually starts torturing the Ferengi, which was disturbing. Ron
yeah.
squeals, and Nog, man, Nog shows his intelligence. I did love, though, that he just pointed at Ohio, and then they specified Cleveland, but I love that Ohio was going to be their landing site.
That was
So
very
much
funny.
love from me for it being Ohio of all states.
That
The
was funny.
listeners, if you don't know, we live in Ohio. We're Ohioans. I liked the mind control thing coming up. I like that the professor and the nurse never for one moment believed these guys were a threat, like once they got to talk to them. And so
Yeah,
they were just like, we're just gonna lie and say we were mind controlled. And everybody just accepts that as that's a great
I
idea
I
because
thought that
they
was great.
they correctly identify what the level of intelligence of the military is and
Yes.
what it could take to fool them.
Where is it? Oh, I love these two lines, which are very right now. Nog says, don't you people have laws against this kind of thing when they're holding a scalpel to Cork's neck? And Wainwright says, not when it comes to national security. Unfortunately, that could not be more topical right now.
Well, now
But
you just have to lie and say anything's national security, even when it has nothing to do
yeah,
with national
I mean, it's
security,
been
and
that
that's
way, but
fine
it's
by the Supreme
getting
Court.
even easier. Yep, exactly. Even easier than ever.
Oh my God. I so much love the line where Quark calls Odo my hero.
I wrote that down too. I thought it was great. And like I said,
Insane
I
was it
got
that they used?
I
So
had to rewind to see where Odo came from because I was like, wait a minute, what? What? Oh, okay, yep, he was the wheel. Yep, like I said,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
How insane was it that they used the atomic bomb test to get back?
I wrote down nuclear blast can be used for good.
I mean, we know nuclear energy can be used for good, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I appreciated Ron figuring that out, but it was still a little like,
And then, of course, we get the button on the end, which was Quark's going to be locked up for a few weeks. I mean, I appreciate it so much. It makes total sense to the characters, but you have to think Odo's like, you know, I might have forgiven and forgot that you or just accept you got away with this.
uh,
Except you drug me back in time to this terrible place for a few days, so I'm
yeah.
gonna get even with you by locking you up.
So the way Rom acted, it felt like Rom was like, I could have I could have taken care of him, but I don't need to say anything.
Yeah, I think Rom was just gonna enjoy a couple weeks of his brother not harassing him,
Because
especially after being trapped in a room with him for a couple of days.
wasn't I thought Rom was the one who finagled the chemosite thing, but maybe it was, or was it?
Rom, no, Rom figured out that Quark had the chemosite on board,
Okay,
and then
gotcha.
Rom used it. But no,
Okay,
I think it was very much like, oh yeah, maybe I could talk you out of it, but I just want a couple weeks without you, and that's fair because he's gained his self confidence now. So,
yeah.
any other notes?
Well, one is, they start talking about how they're going to get back, and that's the thing. I think, you know, when we did Tomorrow Was Yesterday, I talked about how I'd always tell people like, well, if we were running late, I'm like, well, if we slingshot past the sun, blah blah blah. And then, as we've gotten into more and more time travel things, and our co-host from the Voyager side, Shane, of course, loves anytime we can get in time travel. But I almost feel, I think I've said this before. It's like feels like time travel is getting a little too easy, and I don't
I
mind
thought
if
that
it's
for
for
a
fun
while.
shows. Yeah, yeah, and you could almost have a spin-off series about time travel police, which I think would be great. Also, let's keep that idea before Paramount takes it from us.
Well, Voyager is going to introduce some time traveling stuff, and
Okay.
Enterprise actually does a temporal Cold War story arc
Oh,
with the
okay.
time.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, you're not far off
they're
of
ahead of me.
where things want to go.
And then finally, I think our director for the episode, James
Oh yeah.
Conway. James Conway. He directed a little movie called Hangar 18, which was actually about when it was like a 1978 or around then, 1980, about kind of a similar thing, but happening in 1980, except not handled as well and not as fun. A lot of B actors and that actual B actors in that. But I remember as a kid seeing the commercial, I'm like, oh, I really want to see that. And I think it got a little. I know it was also set in Roswell or Arizona. I'm sorry, but I know it got a little play because where I grew up was near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they always talked about having the aliens. Some of the aliens, whether from Roswell or somewhere else. So, but
Well, I think the
I,
weather balloon they kept bringing up here was like the official story.
yes, yes, that was very. I enjoyed that as well. That was always the official excuse. Or, but yeah, yeah, he goes through it very quickly. Like, there was nothing here. Just a weather balloon, which I guess explains why they were also chill about it. It's like, yeah, not the first time we've seen a quote unquote weather balloon. But yeah, I remember as a kid, like, oh, I really want to see this Hangar 18. It looks really cool. And now I guess I didn't miss out on anything. So, and I obviously hadn't gone back to try and check it out in the intervening 46 years. So, yeah,
Talked about James Conway before, but
yeah.
I guess we didn't talk about the writers. The teleplay was by Ari Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf, of course,
Mm.
but the story was by Tony Marbury and Jack Trevino. And Tony's best known for writing two episodes of Deep Space Nine, this one and Indiscretion, which was just 2 episodes ago, story by, and then also appeared as herself in the podcast The Seventh Rule, which was Carrick Lofton and Aaron Eisenberg's review series for Deep Space Nine, which I stopped listening to. And that's all the IMDb credits Tony has. Jack is best known for writing the TV series Star Trek Renegades, which must have been a fan project. Star Trek of Gods and Men, Star Trek Continues, all fan projects. And then 2 episodes Deep Space Nine, the other one being the 2 episodes ago we just discussed. So it looks like he's written a lot of Star Trek fan projects almost exclusively as his writing credits since this one. So stay in the Star Trek. You got to respect that.
Yeah. So
Let's
I
get to
think,
the
yeah,
rankings.
yeah.
Who was your shady character in Little Green Men?
Quark for his, yeah, I think, hey, let's just stay here and get rich. I think that's, yeah.
I mean, I did Quark too because everything. I mean, his cousin and that stuff was shady too, but
Mm-hmm.
like that's just how the Ferengi are, and it's how Quark is. And then his shadiness, like oh, the shadiness actually saved them though because he smuggled that stuff that actually stopped them from like being destroyed. But then he immediately tried to be shady and swindle the humans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's gotta be Quark.
Yeah.
Who was your annoyance in Little Green Men?
Was it Wainwright? Was that the guy torturing everybody?
Are you talking about the general or the captain?
Not the captain. Yeah,
The captain was Wainwright, yes.
yeah, Wainwright. Yeah, I did not care for him.
I mean, I didn't either. I apologize, though. I'm going to go with General Denning.
Yeah,
I think both of those are solid choices. I
yeah,
mean, it could just be our personal anti military bias.
right.
I mean, I have brothers that served in the military. I'm not like totally against all military and
Uh-huh.
all purposes, but this stereotypical military attitude
Yeah,
dominate and whatever that it's
yeah.
that toxic alpha male masculinity
Hmm.
that was on
Yeah.
display here that you associate with stereotypical military
Hmm.
made both of them very solid choices in my opinion.
Yep.
And then who are you having a drink with? I'm sure I know this one.
You can write it in. Yeah, Megan Gallagher. Her character Garland was.
Nurse Garland.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I was choosing her too because, well, yes, she is very attractive, but just
Mm.
also her optimism, her view of the
All of
future,
that.
like
Yep.
the wanting to explore and all that. I'm
Yep.
like, that is a woman I could really
Hmm.
connect with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. She was. The character was great.
personality wise,
Megan Gallagher is great.
wonderful,
Yeah.
as well as being very attractive.
Yeah.
Ranking the episode, this is tough. I mean, this is only the seventh episode of the season,
Yeah.
but we have had before these the six episodes that have come before are all good.
Mhm.
We have no
Yeah.
bad episodes.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to decide where to put it. I'm going
Hmm.
to start towards the bottom because this season has been full of like
Hmm.
iconic pivotal episodes like The
Yeah.
Visitor, Way of the Warrior. Huge. So I'm starting
Mhm.
towards the bottom, but not because I don't believe in this episode, but because this season
It's
has
loaded.
maybe been the best first seven episodes of any Star Trek season to date, I would say.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I would put these seven episodes against the first seven of any Star Trek season, and I think it wins.
Yeah. I I mean, yeah.
So anyway, so
I'm
right now
struggling to come up with
let's
anything even close.
no, this was such a good
Mhm.
run, and the thing is, it's I know it's gonna maintain or improve. Like
Yeah.
this isn't a flash that then
Yeah.
in next gen like seasons five, six, seven start to peter off. Like this show stays. It's so damn good. Anyway, let's
Yeah.
go against Indiscretion first. That's the
Yeah.
Kira Dukat. Ooh, where we find
Hmm.
out about Zyle. Oh,
Yeah. That. Wow.
that's so good.
Yeah. Wait, is that our bottom episode?
No, there's one
Okay.
below it. I started near the bottom, not all the way.
I think I'd go below that.
I would too, but it's
Yeah.
rough because
Yeah.
this is such a good episode.
It's a fun episode, and that's a really good episode.
Yeah, that one's not as fun, and it's got
Yeah.
Kira, who we adore, and
Yeah.
Dukat. So it's, oof, I hated going low,
That
but
was a
yeah,
good one.
yeah, no.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, below that's Hippocratic Oath, which is Bashir saves the Jem'Hadar against
Um,
O'Brien's wishes because of
I
his
think I'd go
oath.
above that one.
Me too.
Yeah.
So we're putting this as 6 of 7. Well,
Okay.
Hippocratic Oath was a great episode too.
So good
It would
episode.
top some seasons of some shows. It would not be number one of any Deep Space Nine season because Deep Space Nine is just that good, but it might be in the top 5 of a next gen season or original series season. So next week we're going back to Voyager. It's the episode Cold Fire. The caretaker's remains resonate, which might well mean that its mate is nearby, because we know there's still the caretaker's mate out there we haven't got to yet. The rest of the synopsis says the trail leads to a space colony of Ocampa with psychokinetic powers. So apparently Kess isn't the only Ocampa that has
Hey.
superpowers.
All right.
Until then, live long.
In your own time, and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?